All right, well, hi. So I'm Kevin Lofgren. As Lillian said, I've got lots of notes. I'm going to try to ignore them as much as possible. What's that? Have you seen this?
There you go.
Okay. Unorthodox. All right, one clean hand. So basically, Farstar was started in 2001 out of my house, and I've made every possible mistake you can make as an entrepreneur, trust me, including brother-in-law and giving shares to people that you shouldn't. Made literally everyone you can name. And in 2005, we effectively imploded, and that was by frankly, by my design. And that wasn't my intention, but I realized that at the end of the day, you can have all the best intentions, but going with your gut is actually sometimes not the best move, and it kind of depends on your gut and how accurate your gut is. In our world, or at least in my world, quite frankly, I grew up with not a lot of self-confidence, and I guess my defensive mechanism was to act like I had a lot of confidence, which was the way I shoved it off. And frankly, when I started bringing other people in, I knew that for me, if I said I could do something, I meant I could do it. I knew that if I said this is something that I'm knowledgeable about, then I was knowledgeable about it. I wouldn't take the risk of saying I could do something and then not be able to deliver. And I assumed that to be true about everyone around me. So when someone said they were an expert in something or really good at something, I frankly just kind of opted to believe them and then pay the price. I'm telling you that not because that's really what I'm here to talk about, but I wanted to start off with that because, quite frankly, people ask what we don't play fair means. And we don't play fair actually is a little bit more complex than it may sound. I mean, sure, on one hand, it's a way of getting people's attention and making them wonder what that means. But more than that, it's really more about a philosophy. We, to Jennifer's point earlier, we find traditional marketing and advertising to be fairly stale and old, and similar to the Einstein quote, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result is not necessarily the sanest thing you can do. And the best way I can explain it is that I've found that the way I learn best, unfortunately, is through experience, through mistakes that I make, and getting feedback and making adjustments. And what I've found about the marketing process in general is that their typical mindset seems to be, do something, see how it works. If it didn't work, say it worked. And then if it did work, do more of that forever. Like never change it until, I can't tell if they've ever changed it. So, okay, I'm at 3 minutes. This really goes fast. All right, so let me tell you my little story. So growing up in college, actually, I guess I was still growing up. I sold boats door to door for a company called Southwestern Company out of Nashville, Tennessee. Nice. For 5 summers, which I think is clinically insane. And the thing is that I realized really quickly that selling door to door was really not going to work for me. I was, as I said, I lacked some self-confidence, and thinking that you lack self-confidence and you're going up to a stranger's door, literally, I was in Ohio, literally a stranger in a strange town, that's pretty overwhelming. And what would happen is I would work up my way to get to the door, so that would take about an hour in my car, just sitting there going, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And then I'd get up to the door, and I basically would make myself ring the doorbell before I could talk myself out of it. And then she would come to the door, and I would do my little thing. And frankly, the only thing that would get me in was just just smiling and being charming, little college kid, defenseless. And so I would get in the door sometimes, but occasionally, or often, I would get some sort of objection that made me feel like I was less than, or like I was in a position. And in that case, I would go back to my car and wait for at least another 4 hours before I would attempt to go to another door. And I realized really quickly that that was probably not going to be very effective for me. When I say I realized it quickly, once again, I would have to say I realized it quickly, but I didn't do anything about it quickly. So for the first, I'd say 6 weeks of a 12-week summer, that was kind of how it went. We were supposed to do 30 demos a day, so sit down with 30 people a day in their homes and show them the boats, which I think is impossible, but that's what they had us do, or asked us to, or made us feel guilty if we didn't do. Anyway, so I'd go to, I don't know, maybe 10 people, and you sell 6 of them. So 60% close percentage was pretty good. But I always felt like if I were going to more than 10 people, I could probably get more sales. It stood to reason. But there was a problem with that. At the end of the day, what I really realized was, they are building a program based on law of averages. And they're saying, out of the thousands of kids who go out and do this every summer, only a small percentage are actually going to have any skill, actually going to be teachable and trainable. So instead of spending all your time trying to find those people, let those guys figure it out on their own. They'll rise to the top. And all these other people who are not built for this, just tell them to go to 30 houses a day, every day. Just, and then blind squirrel's going to find a nut. So where I'm going with that is, frankly, that's what I feel like traditional mass marketing is. I feel like traditional mass marketing is the effective equivalent to going out to, door to door, and hoping that the law of averages work out. So here's a great example. When I would go to a door, the thing that would usually stop me in my tracks in the more affluent neighborhoods, and this is just one example, there are a lot of things, was if I went to the door and said, hey, I'm selling books, and the mom said, my kids are smart, they're doing great in school, don't really need any books, thank you anyway. Because really, she's not rejecting you at that point. She's not really even rejecting the books. She's just saying, I don't have a need for the books. So I realized when I was 19 years old, I'm kind of proud of my little whininess back then. I realized that if I knew that her kids were smart, I could change my approach, and that might give me more success. So I started going to all the neighbors that I was selling books to, and before I would leave, I would say, hey, you know the people across the street? Oh, you do? Okay, great. And I'd ask about their name and about their kids and their ages or whatever, which is pretty typical. But then I started doing something different, which was every time I learned about an objection that I was likely to get, I would incorporate that into the questions I asked. So, for example, how are your kids doing in school? Do you know? Do they care about education? Do you know what he does for a living? So basically, I'm trying to pre-qualify the individual before I even get there. This is pretty basic sales stuff, but again, I was making it up, so I thought I was inventing it. But anyway, so then when I go to the door, if I know that the kids are doing well in school, or at least she thinks they are, then the approach was, hi, Mrs. Jones, my name's Kevin Lofgren. I'm a college kid from Waco, Texas, not a Branch Davidian. I always said that, because it was right after it happened. And I'd say, let's see, then I'd say, oh, I've been talking to all your neighbors, and all of them are saying how well your kids are doing in school. And they basically said that I have to come talk to you because I've got these books that help kids compete and prepare for college, and basically get them ready to compete with their peers and go to college. And inevitably, they would let me in. Do you have a place where I can show them to you real quick, get your opinion? Basically, my point is, if you can change your value proposition in a way that's resonant with the listener, then you're more likely to get that person to actually turn into a customer, or at least a potential customer. And so with the internet, when you look at traditional marketing, if you can combine the internet with traditional marketing, then all of a sudden you do have that capability, and you may not even know it. So as an example, one of our clients said, we want to go after, so let's take Oracle. Oracle was a client. They said that they wanted to sell their CRM system against a competitor CRM system. And they wanted to talk to people who were using the competitor CRM system because it had a specific weakness that they could exploit. They were talking to technology people, finance people, and I think maybe operations people. And so